What if I told you that one country contains four major language families, hundreds of living languages, and one language that has been spoken for more than 2,000 years? That country is India, home to over 1.4 billion people. The country has hundreds of living tongues spoken across its states. The famous author Mark Twain once traveled here and marveled at this exact diversity. He described India as the country of 100 nations and 100 tongues. So how did one nation become home to so many different voices? The answer cannot be found in a single event. It took tens of thousands of years to create this reality. The story starts around 65,000 years ago. During this ancient time, some of the very first modern humans walked onto the Indian subcontinent. They did not arrive all at once as a single big group. Instead, small bands of families arrived over long periods and settled down in completely different regions. Because the land was so vast, these groups lived far apart from each other. Over many generations, each community began developing its own independent way of talking. They made up their own words for water, fire, animals, and trees. Slowly, these small differences grew larger until entirely separate languages were born. Then history took another turn. Around 7000 BCE, the practice of farming began spreading across northwestern India. Villages became permanent, and people started trading crops and tools more often than before. You might expect this close contact to blend everyone's speech into one single language, but the exact opposite happened. While trade connected a few neighboring towns, India was simply too massive for everyone to stay in touch. Communities separated by long distances continued developing their own speech. Instead of one language growing everywhere, many local languages continued to evolve in their own separate ways. Then came one of the greatest civilizations of the ancient world. Around 2600 BCE, the Indus Valley Civilization built remarkable cities like Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. Their streets were perfectly planned, and their drainage systems were centuries ahead of their time. But here is the mystery. These ancient city builders had a writing system. They carved symbols onto thousands of small stone seals. Yet even today, no one has been able to read their script. That means the language of India's earliest civilization remains completely unknown to us. After these ancient cities declined, the language map changed once again. Around 1500 BCE, new communities speaking early Indo-Aryan languages arrived in northern India. Over many centuries, these tongues evolved into today's northern speech, including Hindi, Bengali, Marathi, Punjabi, and Gujarati. At this point, something doesn't make sense. If these new languages were spreading fast, why didn't they take over the whole country? Because southern India was already home to an entirely separate ancient linguistic tradition. Languages like Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, and Malayalam belong to the Dravidian family. Among them, Tamil has a recorded written history of more than 2,000 years, making it one of the world's oldest continuously used classical languages. In fact, Tamil literature was already flourishing, while many modern languages had not yet formed. At the same time, indigenous communities in central forests kept their own Austroasiatic languages, while communities in the northeast spoke Sino-Tibetan tongues. Most countries grow with just one major language family. India grew with several, all developing in the exact same land. Some Indian languages are spoken by more people than the entire population of many countries. So why didn't one eventually replace all the others? The first answer lies in the land itself. For thousands of years, high mountains, dense forests, and wide rivers made long-distance travel very difficult. Communities stayed close to home, giving their local languages plenty of time to grow in different directions without outside interference. The second answer lies in the choices of past rulers. Instead of remaining under one single empire for long, much of India was governed by many regional kingdoms. Each kingdom actively promoted its own local language. Kings issued their official orders in the local speech, poets wrote stories in it, and temples carved it onto stone walls. Because these languages were used in administration, education, and art, they did not disappear. They became a proud part of the regional culture. Even when kingdoms traded with one another, a surprising thing happened. Merchants carried spices, cotton, and silk across the subcontinent. Along with goods, they exchanged words. Languages began borrowing thousands of vocabulary terms from one another. Yet they fiercely kept their own original grammar and pronunciation. That is why a Hindi speaker might recognize a few words in Tamil, but still cannot naturally understand the language. Later, powerful foreign empires arrived, bringing new languages like Persian and English. In many other parts of the world, when a mighty empire took over, the older local languages died out completely. So why didn't that happen here? Because the local languages adapted. They welcomed new foreign words into their vocabulary, but they preserved their own core identity. This ability to change without losing their roots is why India's linguistic heritage is still alive today. The modern nation decided to protect this feature by choosing to have no single national language. Instead, different states use their own regional tongues for official work, allowing 22 languages to be recognized in the Constitution. For millions of people here, speaking 2 or 3 languages is completely normal. They speak one language at home, another at school, and a third at work. Today, when someone speaks Tamil, Hindi, Bengali, Kannada, Malayalam, or any other Indian language, they aren't just speaking words. They are continuing a story that began around 65,000 years ago. That is why India doesn't simply have many languages. It has one of the longest surviving language histories on Earth. Every new generation writes the next chapter of that story.